0416 hours. Western Pacific location, U.S. Forward Operating Base. Classified. The night was supposed to be quiet. No drills, no exercises, no warnings, just routine readiness beneath a moonless sky. Then the radar screamed. 0417 hours. First detection. A red cascade flooded the operations center display. Multiple launches detected. The watch officer snapped upright. Source? The missile defense analyst didn't hesitate. Eastern seaboard of mainland China. Multiple sites. Ballistic and cruise profiles. How many? The analyst swallowed. Dozens. Wait, updating. 100 missiles. The room went silent. 0419 hours. No ambiguity. There was no guessing, no interpretation, no room for doubt. 100 missile tracks arced across the digital globe, converging toward a single point, a U.S. base. Fully manned, fully operational, fully exposed. The base commander stared at the screen. That's not a warning, he said quietly. That's a strike. 0421 hours. Sirens. Across the base, alarms wailed. Personnel sprinted for hardened shelters. Aircraft crews abandoned hangars mid-task. Missile defense teams snapped to stations they had trained for, but hoped never to use. A loudspeaker boomed. Incoming missiles. This is not a drill. 0424 hours. The scale becomes clear. The missile defense coordinator shouted over the noise. Tracks confirm mixed payloads. Short-range ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, possible hypersonic elements. The intelligence officer's voice cracked. They're saturating us. This is overwhelm doctrine. The base commander clenched his fists. They're trying to erase this base. 0427 hours. America reacts. Thousands of miles away. U.S. Strategic Command lit up. Satellite feeds aligned. Interceptors primed. Command authority escalated instantly. No debate, no delay. This wasn't a provocation. This was war, whether China admitted it or not. 0430 hours. The defensive wall rises on the base perimeter. Missile defense systems roared to life. Radar arrays spun. Launchers elevated. Fire control solutions snapped into place. Engage on my mark, the defense commander shouted. The sky above the base transformed. Radar energy, electronic noise, invisible lines of death threading the darkness. 0432 hours. First intercepts. A Patriot interceptor screamed upward, then another, then dozens. High above, explosions bloomed silently as interceptors collided with incoming warheads. The operations center erupted. Hit! Splash 1! Track lost. Confirmed intercept. But the relief didn't last. 0435 hours. Too many targets. The analyst's voice cut through the cheers. Sir, we're leaking. Several missile tracks slipped through the defensive net. Low-flying cruise missiles hugging terrain. Hypersonic profiles outrunning prediction models. The base commander turned pale. How many? The answer came quietly. Too many. 0437 hours. Impact. The first explosion hit the far end of the base. A fireball lit the horizon like artificial sunrise. The shockwave rolled through hardened structures, rattling steel and concrete. Another impact followed. Then another. Communications flickered, power dipped, smoke filled the air. 0440 hours. Damage assessment. Begins reports flooded in. Runways cratered. Fuel storage ignited. Secondary fires spreading. Casualty numbers unknown. The base commander steadied himself. Status? A shaken officer replied. We're hit, but operational. Missile defense still active. The commander nodded. Keep fighting. 0443 hours. The strike continues. Missiles were still coming. The sky remained alive with streaks of light, interceptors racing upward, enemy warheads racing downward. The intelligence officer whispered, "They really did it." The base commander answered grimly, "Yes." "0447 hours. The last wave. The missile count finally began to drop. 100 launches, 70 intercepted, 30 slipped through, enough to hurt, not enough to kill the base. The commander exhaled. They didn't finish us. The intelligence officer met his eyes. That wasn't the goal. 0450 hours. Realization. Across global command screens, analysts connected the dots. This wasn't about destruction, one said. It was about escalation. Another added, they crossed the line on purpose. The commander understood immediately. They wanted a response. 0453 hours. The question everyone fears. In a secure command command center far from the smoke and fire, a single question echoed. Do we respond or absorb it? The answer didn't come right away, because what followed would reshape the world. 0457 hours. America decides. A quiet authorization moved through the chain. No public announcement, no press briefing, just orders. Clear, controlled, absolute. The base commander received the message. He read it once, then twice, then looked up. They hit us, he said. And now, we hit back. The fire still burned. Missile debris still rained down. But somewhere beyond the horizon, American forces were already moving, and what China had unleashed with 100 missiles was about to be answered with something far worse. 0501 hours. Indo-Pacific Command. There was no cheering, no shouting, no emotional release, just silence and motion. Across classified command centers, screens updated in perfect synchronization. Red icons turned blue. Blue arrows turned outward. America was no longer defending. America was executing. 0504 hours. Authorization complete. The final approval traveled through hardened fiber lines and satellite relays that could survive nuclear war. The message was short. Execute response package, Omega. Every commander receiving it understood what that meant. This wasn't a warning strike. This wasn't a proportional gesture. This was dominance enforcement. 0507 hours. The Pacific comes alive. Beneath the waves, U.S. submarines that had been silent for weeks adjusted depth and speed. Missile hatches unlocked. Targeting data flowed in. Mobile launchers, command nodes, radar arrays, air bases. None of the targets were cities. Every one of them mattered. 0510 hours. Air power ignites. From bases across the region, aircraft launched in waves, stealth bombers lifting into the night, F-35 squadrons spreading across the battle space, electronic warfare platforms flooding the spectrum. Chinese radar operators began seeing things that didn't make sense, then stopped seeing anything at all. 0514 hours. First American strikes. The retaliation didn't begin with explosions. It began with silence. Chinese early warning radars blinked offline. Command links dropped, missile batteries lost synchronization. Inside Chinese command centers, officers shouted into dead headsets. What's happening? No one answered. 0518 hours. Precision. Hell. Then the strikes landed. Hundreds of miles inland, hardened missile launch facilities vanished in controlled fireballs. Mobile launchers were hit before they could disperse. Fuel depots ignited. Runways cratered simultaneously across multiple air bases. The coordination was surgical, overwhelming. 0522 hours. Naval targets. Fall in the South China Sea. U.S. carrier aircraft descended from high altitude. Anti-ship missile batteries never saw them coming. Command ships lost power, then exploded. Chinese naval formations scattered. Too late. America wasn't trying to sink everything, only everything that mattered. 0527 hours. China realizes the scale. In Beijing, emergency meetings erupted. This wasn't retaliation. This was systemic dismantling. A senior officer slammed his hand on the table. They're stripping our ability to fight. Another responded quietly. They already did. 0532 hours. The sky is no longer neutral. Chinese fighters scrambled. Some never left the ground. Those that did found the sky hostile, flooded with jamming, false targets, and invisible threats. Several were forced to abort. Others never returned. No dogfights, no heroics, just quiet elimination. 0537 hours. America sends the message. A secure broadcast went out. Not public, not deniable. Clear, direct. Further aggression will result in total degradation of offensive capability. It wasn't a threat. It was a status update. 0541 hours. The missile. Question analysts watched Chinese missile forces closely. Launch authority remained locked. No new countdowns, no new signals. The intelligence chief spoke carefully. They're not escalating. The commander nodded. They can't. 0546 hours. Global shock markets plunged. Allies activated emergency councils. Neutral states went silent. No one had expected this level of response. No one had expected it to be this controlled. This wasn't chaos. This was commanded violence. 0552 hours. Final strike wave. The last American strikes targeted one thing only: command and control. When they were finished, Chinese forces could still move, but they could not coordinate. They could still exist, but they could not act together. War capability without war coherence. 0559 hours. The fighting stops. As suddenly as it began, the strikes ended. Aircraft turned home. Submarines went silent. Missile doors closed. The Pacific exhaled. 0605 hours. Aftermath at the base. Back at the battered U.S. base, fires were still being extinguished. Medics moved fast. Engineers worked through smoke and debris. The base commander watched the sunrise through broken glass. They were hurt, but alive. 0610 hours. The world rewrites the rules. A classified assessment circulated hours later. Enemy missile strike absorbed. Retaliation achieved total operational dominance. Escalation controlled. Deterrence restored. No victory declared. No speeches made. But every military planner on Earth understood what had happened. China fired 100 missiles to test resolve. America answered by dismantling the board. No cities burned. No nuclear lines crossed. But the message was unmistakable. If you strike first, you won't get a second chance.